All right. Check. We should do a clap real quick here. Everybody recording? All right. In 3, 2, 1. In 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We're like a boy band clapping. No, it doesn't feel like it's too bad tonight. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do up a show. We are up on Twitch and YouTube, and everybody's recording. All right, let's go. All right, everybody, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Ears On. Guido here, along with Scoot and Johnson. Take purple Kansas. We got to talk at some point. We got to talk about K-State's hideous uniforms that they had over the weekend. Yeah, they are horrible, but we're super excited for the next month. So pretty much this whole month of March, because you know what, it's March Madness time, and it's March Madness time with us too here on Got Your Ears On. We've got tons of shows, tons to talk about, and Mr. Brent Solheim is going to join us for most of the month to break down the Mountaineers as they go into Big 12 tournament and into the NCAA. Brent, thanks for joining us once again. It's something. A good time maybe. I mean, we try to make it. We try to keep it real. Scoot definitely keeps it real. Keeping it real. What are those three? Yeah. Yep. Yes. Yeah. You've kept it real. Nice. So, guys, a great week for WVU. We'll start from the beginning, which is we got a schedule change to start everything off. We were going to travel to Baylor. We thought we had this big game in Waco, and then that game gets canceled, and the Big 12 decides to completely rework the final week and a half of scheduling, and WVU gets scheduled for 4 home games in a row. The one that we just played on Saturday, 3 more coming up this week going into the Big 12 tournament. And Brent, what does that mean for a team at the end of a season going into tournament time to have 4 games at home? And yeah, well, and I thought it was interesting how they broke down the reasoning for the way they were reworking the schedules, because they didn't want teams to play each other 3 consecutive weeks in a row. So one is they must not think very highly of TCU, because technically I guess we could kind of play them 3 consecutive weeks in a row, but they're probably going to lose their first round and not even get passed into the bye round. But I think for me, it's pretty awesome for us to be able to come back to Morgantown, settle in, not have to deal with the crazy travel that the Big 12 already has, us being stuck in, we talked about it last week on the show, stuck in Texas, with Texas have so much of crazy Texas stuff going on after their winter storms. And then now, you're back in your own facility, you're able to kind of settle in and get ready to tournament time. We did play one game though last week on the road against TCU and came out victorious 74-66. And it's nice to have these. It's not. I feel like we went through the gauntlet and now we're playing these teams that I'm like, ugh, TCU's not that good, Scooty. TCU just isn't that good. Brent, Brent, when you played, did they have? I don't remember courts like that. Back in the '90s, like crazy designs. Was there any of that back in the '90s when you played? Yes. Yes. Now, I will say to talk a little bit about basketball, which we should anyways. Jalen Bridges, had a really solid game against TCU, had a solid game against K State, and Huggins came out this week and had a statement about JB that said the state of West Virginia needs to be very, very proud of one of its own. Not only has he become a very good Big 12 player, but he's a class person as well. Brent, how much have you? I know you watched him a lot in high school, and now you kind of see him play for WVU. What have you seen in the last couple of weeks of his involvement?
Really, really happy to see that.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, he's starting to score. He's starting to take control. I mean, he had, I think it was what, 9 points in the game against TCU, 8 points.
TCU.
Yeah,
Yep,
8 points
Yep,
against K
yep,
State.
yep.
So consistency is starting to come into his game every week.
Yeah, I like the fact that this last game he shot 1 3-pointer. Most of the time we've seen him, or I don't want to say most of the time, but a lot of the times he's been a spot up 3-point shooter. They'll drive, kick it out, and he'll take the open shot. But I've seen him more these last couple of games. Actually attack the hoop, get fouled, get to the free throw line. Really happy, just playing more aggressive. Really happy to see that.
Do you think, Brent, that there early on was probably an adjustment? Because in my mind, I would have thought that he would be maybe Emmett Matthews handcuff, right? So in my mind, in the beginning of the season, figured Emmett Matthews would probably start somewhere in the three, could slide into the four, I guess, depending on if Oscar or Derek were in. And then maybe Jalen would come in. But now that you see Jalen and Emmett out there together, maybe there was a little bit of sorting out or a feeling out phase for Jalen, where he tried to get his feet underneath him and figure out where exactly or what exactly his role was.
I think that's absolutely true. I think early on, I remember talking, I don't know if it was with you guys or other people, but, we're talking about where they're so deep this year. Where are we going to get these minutes? And he wasn't going to be taking minutes from Oscar or Culver. So where did those minutes come from? And it came from, Emmett Matthews. So with Oscar gone, that opens up more for some bigger guys like a Jalen Bridges. And it's taken him a little while, I think, to adjust to his role on the team, but he's definitely more comfortable now than he is at earlier this season, or at least that's the impression I get.
Yeah, and I think against K-State, we needed all hands on deck, Guido, because I think really early, Derek Culver picked up, I think, 2 fouls and had to start kind of metering minutes along. And then we don't really know. I was talking to some folks on Twitter back and forth. I guess Hugs didn't really confirm it, but it seemed like Deuce is nursing what I think is like a turf toe injury someone mentioned. And so I don't think he started. I think his minutes were, not like his normal level of minutes really these last few games. And so I thought in the first half of that K-State game, they also ramped up their defense, and it was actually pretty close, still at the half, certainly still a game. Now we broke it open in the second half, but you kind of felt like, not that I want to see the need for that, but it was nice to know that other people could step in and step up if 2 of your main cogs aren't really hitting on all cylinders for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
go ahead.
Yeah, I
Guido.
think. I think Deuce, has this injury that a turf toe, whatever you call it in basketball toe, court toe, had this
court toe, maybe?
court toe. You had this injury that I think that it's not that he wasn't playable. I think that they are just coming down, looking at the teams that they're playing, going into tournament time. Like they're just trying to watch his minutes, not make it any worse than it needs to be. But I will say in the K-State game, you saw WVU play WVU defense. Now, I don't know how much of that is the fact that Bruce Weber has a horrific squad this year or what. WVU just that K-State team is, I mean, after playing TCU and you're like, TCU's like TCU, not great. Then you play K-State and I felt like, I mean, I know K-State kept it close a couple of times. I think they were within 2 at one point, but all in all, West Virginia was just kind of, it was like a cat playing with a mouse. Like West Virginia just kind of took care of it.
Fran Fraschilla did a masterful job trying to be fair on both sides. I mean, but some of the compliments he had of the K-State team were, I mean, if you know and watch enough basketball or hear Fran talk enough, he was doing everything he could to like highlight some of the bright spots. And
Right.
one of those was that Bradford guy who scored 11 points. He wasn't, I mean, he was okay. I didn't think he was anything crazy. At one point, I think Fran called him like a young David McCormick, which I don't know that I'd see that. And then McGurl, who kind of looks like Shanae from Martin. He was the other guy that he got kind of talked up and told told the audience that now just kind of stepping into his own. That Kansas State team is rough, and we didn't. To be honest, Bruce Weber didn't chirp like he normally does.
No, he was kind of quiet. I mean, I don't know how much of it is a broadcast, but he was definitely kind of quiet. Brent, when you're playing, and you're especially towards the end of a season like this, you're on a team that's, going to be seeded pretty well in, you're going to get seeded pretty well going into the tournament, NCAA tournament, and you play a team that is of the caliber of K-State. Do you as players, like, do you guys back your game down a little bit? Do you change does the coach change the way that he manages the game just because of players and time? And, how much does that change going into a game like that?
I mean, I've seen some of that where, if you're playing a team like a Kansas State and you get an early turnover, you might not get yanked right away. Whereas if you're in a bigger game and the coach is a little bit more wound up, you may get pulled immediately for a bad play. So I think there is some of that, but the coaches for the most part are going to treat every game the same. And sometimes though, you'll see the players, half asleep when the game starts. And then, the longer you play like that, the more opportunity the other team thinks that they can actually win. And that's where you start seeing some games go down to the wire. But a good team that's a little bit older should put a team like this away early. And we saw West Virginia really put them away in the second half. But even though the game was closer in the first half and starting the second half, I never felt at all like the game was in jeopardy. I'm like, hey, it's just a matter of time before we pull away. I wasn't nervous at all for this one.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I didn't have my usual level of nervousness when the game started to get close. Guido, my traditional WVU fan, like, oh, I didn't get those, jitters. I just felt like Brent just said, it was just, you could just tell it was like, okay, we're going to wear this team down. And I thought that's what happened in the second half for sure.
DC back to playing. I mean, not that he hasn't, but DC back to getting double doubles again, still playing strong, getting a lot of, starting to get a lot of NBA talk. I'm wondering at this point now, as well as he's playing, what he's probably looking at for time coming into the tournament, what he could probably show. I mean, are you guys, any of you guys worried about Derek Culver going to the NBA, going to the draft after this season?
From my perspective, I'm not sure. Now, the NBA scouts will say one area that translates very well from college to the NBA is rebounding. And obviously he's very, very good at that. He can rebound in the NBA. There's no question about that. What I worry about is, getting the ball low. Yeah, he's got a nice little left hook and all that, but he's not really a refined scorer, at least in my opinion. His mid-range shot could improve. But maybe those are things an NBA team could work with him on. But I would certainly not say, it's a lock for him going pro next season.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think that's kind of the reason I love Derek Culver is because he's not refined. I feel like he fits us. Like, I love when he just kind of bulls in, kind of contorts his way to the bucket and gets one to fall. I mean, I kind of love those plays. But I think when I think about the someone having an NBA quote-unquote game, then it feels like Brent's saying maybe a little bit more refined, a little bit more, the edges are smoothed out. You can, you're more of a jump shooter in some cases. So I don't know if that's something that would be in the immediate future, but I guess for my 2 cents, then I would think he would come back for his senior year, Guido, but maybe, who knows?
Well, I don't know that he goes. I think that if he were to get drafted, I think he's maybe a second round. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an NBA scout, but I'm going to guess he's probably a second round guy based on the fact, like Brent just said, he has very little to offer beyond 5 feet from the basket offensively. I mean, he's not even shooting foul shot distance jump shots anywhere. So I think he's maybe a second round guy. Potentially a project, somebody that, a team would draft and then stuff down in the G League for a while. But I mean, I don't know I guess getting paid professionally is getting paid professionally. But if I were to play college basketball, I don't know that I would want to leave college basketball in a good situation to go play in the G League. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Fran Fraschilla actually talked a lot about Taz Sherman and Taz being able to take advantage of that added year that the NCAA is allowing and to come back and not because, Taz would probably most likely go pro after this year, possibly make a G League team, but more likely maybe go and play in Europe and make whatever 40, 60 grand a year playing in Europe. But now, what's it going to be like for Taz to come back next year and be able to kind of build on, what he's doing right now this year. And then, then from there have a potential to jump even higher into if it's NBA or again, more on the international side of things. Just interesting to think about. This is the first team, I think, since, definitely the 2010 team where we've had, guys that you look at and you go, man, there's 4 or 5 guys that are going to go pro. It could go pro on this team.
Well, the obvious ones would be Culver, and we haven't talked about McBride. I personally think McBride's the best player on the team this year. He already has an NBA mid-range game. He's working on his his 3-point, which isn't terrible. But he can also attack the basket, and he's a heck of an athlete. There's been a couple times where he drove, finished with his left, like strong. And I was like, man, that is a big-time move. So his defense is good. I think he personally has got the best shot of playing in the NBA out of anyone on the team. But there's, you're even starting to see some guys like Sean McNeil in the NBA that are spot-up 3-point shooters. So, who knows? this team does have a lot of upside to it.
Definitely. So we head into the last week of the regular season. We've got 3 games left. Number 2 Baylor is the first one on Tuesday. Then TCU comes to town on Thursday, and Oklahoma State comes to town on Saturday. Baylor, guys. So big game for us. I feel like we have been waiting to play Baylor for so long. Like I didn't even know this would ever happen. Like we've been waiting all season to play this Baylor team. We finally get to do it in Morgantown. We're probably going to be, as you guys know, we record this show on Sunday nights. So by the time it comes out on Monday and you hear it, we already know we're going to be ranked, but we're probably going to be ranked. I'm going to guess 6 or 7 going into that game on Tuesday night against Baylor, who's going to hold their 2 ranking more than likely. How do you guys feel moving into this Baylor game where Baylor's played 2 games all of February, I think, and now they're matching up against us and we're kind of on a hot streak?
Yeah, the only thing to me that, and I hate to say this because I'm not throwing a wet blanket on anything, but it just stinks that Kansas just beat them over the weekend. I was really hoping they would roll into Morgantown, still, with no losses coming in like that. So it doesn't, I mean, it's still Baylor. They're still a terrific team. They're still almost running away with this regular season conference. So it's still going to be a huge game, but it's just a bit of it took a little dent there with their loss to Kansas, but I think it's super advantageous, these 4 home games for WVU, because not only do we play so well at home, but we also kind of have the ability to finish out. A lot of people already were I saw some conversation here over the weekend where some people had us on the 3 line. I saw some people even inching us up toward the 2 line. If you kind of finish out these, you've now been kind of not gifted, but you've been, kind of this fortuitous reschedule of home games. You finish these out, it seems like such a huge, even regardless of kind of what you do in a conference tournament, it seems like a huge momentum that you could build going into seeding and going into the bracket selection, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a gift. I feel like 4 home games, the chance of winning out. I mean, if we win out and, we're going to finish this week. If we win out, we're going to go into the Big 12 tournament. Probably the top 4 team in the nation, top 4. I mean, we'll probably easily be top 5 team in the nation. And I mean, I think all of a sudden, even if we play somewhat subpar, only win 1 game, maybe 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, I still think we get a easy 3 seed and probably a 2 seed. I mean, I read an article today from one of the WVU, pages where, I mean, it's not out of the realm that we're a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Something that's never, I mean, at least in our lifetimes, has never happened.
Guido, I agree with you wholeheartedly. This home stretch is a gift, especially as far as WVU has to travel for all the games. Iowa State's the closest game, and that's 6 or probably 800 miles away. So there's a massive amount of traveling that they have to do, and to be able to close out the season at home, helps a lot. Helps their legs, helps just their energy, all of that. And I see them as being a 3 seed, possibly a 2 as well. And that type of seeding is going to help us as well, because these guys, everyone missed the NCAA tournament last year. So there's going to be a lot of nerves. There's not a whole lot of NCAA experience with this team. So to get a game, under your belt against a subpar team in the tournament. Now we know upsets can happen and all that, but the likelihood of us, dropping to a 13 seed or something like that is small. So that helps us from that end as well. Just the lack of postseason experience.
Johnson, knowing West Virginia like you do, as a
Yes.
typical West Virginia fan,
Okay.
are you excited to not be an underdog, or would you prefer to be an underdog? Because I feel that typical West Virginia fan relishes the underdog role and doesn't know how to handle the front runner role. I think of when a couple of years ago we became the number 1 team in the country for like a day, and then we lost to Baylor like the next day. You guys remember that?
Right.
And then we were knocked out of the number 1 spot. I mean, it was like Like we just didn't know how to handle the. I know that doesn't really matter, but are you looking forward to being a front runner, or would you rather be the hunter, not the hunted?
Well, I always enjoy being the underdog, but Scoot, in this situation, you just have to see. I'm a veteran of this fandom, and so you just change your scope. You just change your context. So if I'm on the 3 line, if I'm a 3 seed, I probably find that I'm able to figure out that the committee ranked me as the lowest 3, and I'm angry about it, and I'm still the underdog. So it's just in how I'm a veteran of rooting for this team, and how you just have to change, your scope of what you're looking at.
I think my prediction is we're going to be a high seed, but somehow the committee will put some sort of like arch enemy against us,
right?
So then people will be like, "This is just the committee trying to screw us." Because
right.
somehow Kentucky's got a losing record, but we have to play Kentucky. Great,
that's in West Virginia. That you bottled that right up there.
Yeah.
See, that's exactly how
lived
we're
in the state long. You've lived in the state long enough. You figured it out.
Of course, they put
quickly.
Kentucky in there. We got to play Duke. Makes it into the tournament. We got to play Duke now. That's what will happen. Is we'll end up getting a blue blood. And it'll freak people out.
Brett, when you were playing, that Sweet 16 year, like, how much were you guys? I mean, obviously Selection Sunday, which was still, I mean, that was a thing then. How much was seeding like something that you guys were, felt that it was real important to you?
We didn't pay any attention to that at all. Our junior year, my junior year, we were the first Big East team, I believe, that had 12 or 10 wins that didn't make the NCAA tournament. So we felt like we got massively slighted the year before. And then, so when we made the tournament our senior year, we didn't pay any attention to what seed we were. We just cared that we were in. So obviously that's not going to be the case with these guys. They know they're in. They know they're going to be a good seed. And it will be interesting to see who we match up with, because a couple of years ago we ended up getting Marshall. We had to play Marshall in the first or second round. And what are the chances of that happening? So it'll be interesting to see who they have us match up against. One other thing though about this team, a couple of years ago, I felt like, hey, when we get to the NCAA tournament, we play such physical basketball that the people that aren't in our conference aren't used to us. There's an automatic advantage going into the tournament because they don't know how we play. I don't feel that's the case with this team. We don't play that physical press Virginia basketball that we did a couple years ago. So there's not going to be that shock factor when non-conference teams come up against us.
That's
a good point. Sorry, Scoot, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, this doesn't feel, and I know we've talked a little bit about it before, Brent. This doesn't feel like like even like a Big East team where you've got a couple of I know we've got Derek Culver, but in the Big East, I think the battles were all inside the paint, and this team is not looking to really battle inside the paint. They're looking to feed Culver, and then if he's double teamed, he's looking to pass out of that.
Yeah, he's so physical, and he would have been great in the Big East, but you're right. There's really not another player that will go in there and scrap and knock anyone around, with the exception of Gabe. Gabe could have played in the Big East as well. So those two guys, are bangers, and other than that, though, there's really no one.
Yeah, and I think that looking at, and granted, guys, we've got to get through the rest of this week. We've got to get through the Big 12 tournament. Then we'll deal with Selection Sunday, whatever it is, 2 weeks from today. I think that the biggest thing for this team moving forward is I think they're at a good place and to try not to change too much and to keep that passion and keep working together. Because we saw it, with the coming, we talked about it last week, coming back twice this year, down by 19. It's the fact that this team finally, if any of Huggins' teams, and we saw it, I think the 2010 team was the same way. Like, when these teams play together, when these guys are out there playing together, it's a completely different team than when when you're relying on one guy or two guys or whatever. So I think the biggest thing is let's take care of Baylor this week. Let's get into let's get pretty deep, if not win the conference tournament, and then let's do some work when we get to tournament time. So
part of the fun of a Selection Sunday, though, you mentioned Selection Sunday, this made me think of something. it's not only what seed you get and who you're playing, but a lot of the fun is where, are you going to be close to the home fans? Are you going to be on the other side of the country?
Right.
So all of that is, that suspense is out the door. So I don't know that it's going to be as, big of a spectacle as it has been in the past, because you don't know where you're going to be. You could literally be in LA or Seattle or Boise, Idaho, or you could be up in Pittsburgh, just, 1 hour away. So,
Right.
that suspense is now gone. So it actually makes Selection Sunday a little bit less fun for me.
Yeah, you're going to be
You know,
either in
maybe the
Indianapolis
suspense will
or
be-
Indianapolis. So
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe the suspense will be during Selection Sunday, the show, what kind of food spread WVU is going to provide the players. Is it going to be catered in? Is it going to be chicken?
You think a nugget tray? You think a nugget tray?
I mean, that would be something. Could it be like a spread like the White House rolled out for, was it Alabama or Clemson? It was Clemson when
What,
Clemson
Big
won the
Macs for
national.
everybody?
Yeah, like a big platter of Big Macs.
yeah.
That'd be sweet.
Hey, other news, guys. We did get to see another West Virginia player finally score for WVU. Jay Moore, walk on for the team, got in the game against K-State. It was like, cleanup time. You get to see Spencer Mackey, who's like the fan favorite of cleanup time, and then you get to see Jay Moore from Beckley, right? Get in and play, scored 2 points. So that was a good time for him.
Yeah, and Huggs said they're probably dancing in the streets of Beckley after that bucket. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so good for him. Good for WVU. Wins 2 games this week over K-State and TCU, and moves on to play Baylor later.
So, Scoot, one last thing. Huggs picks up win number 898. You think this guy has a shot at the Hall of Fame?
Well, he'll have to wait till next year, I'm sure,
Okay.
because it's just ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I'm almost kind of interested. Here's a good question. Who will finish the season, postseason included, who will finish the year, I should say, with more victories, Roy Williams or Bob Huggins?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Because
Roy
they're
Williams
neck
just
and
got his
neck.
900th.
Yeah,
His last game just got his 900th. So
I think Huggs.
I got Hugs.
Yeah,
I think Hugs can do it too.
I think Hugs too.
But Roy Williams has probably been in the Hall of Fame for like 8 years.
a decade. No, what year? Roy Williams has been in the Hall of Fame since probably. Oh man, now you got me. I got to look it up.
Yeah, I think it's been a while.
I think it's been a while. I would say
Because that makes sense.
because
Well, it's back to what we said. I mean,
2007, Scooty.
Yeah, but not to belabor the point, because we talked a little bit on last show, but he has his national championship, and so I think that,
I mean, I
think
get
that,
it.
and he's out of blue blood. So
Yep. All right, West Virginia plays this week. Baylor game's on Tuesday. It's on ESPN at a wonderful time, 5:00. Brett, you're going to be able to eat your dinner and watch the game at the same time.
You might be awake for the
Yeah,
second half this time.
Hey, those 9:00 games are incredibly tough for me. Weekday games, if it's the weekend, I can catch a nap. But man, I'm an old soul, and I like to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And those late 9:00 games are tough. It's perfect for me.
5:00's like the blue plate
Listen.
special basketball game this week.
yeah, that's kind of a
Yes.
weird time, though, isn't it? I mean, 5 p.m. is like, wait, what? There's a game on? All right, hurry up, turn it on.
Brent, you're going to have to ask Denny's if they can turn a channel to the game when you're at 4:00 for your dinner.
WVU plays Thursday at 7 p.m. That game's on ESPN Plus against TCU, and then Saturday games at 2:00. It's going to be on one of the ESPN networks that hasn't been announced yet. And then Big 12 tournament play starts next Wednesday, so a week, the 10th, Wednesday the 10th. So other news, other WVU sports news, because we don't just talk basketball, but we do talk other sports. WVU baseball did some work this weekend. They played down in Coastal Carolina's home stadium, and they won 2 out of 3 games, losing to Coastal Carolina, the only televised game, and they lose it 5-10. But they beat Kennesaw State, and they walloped them 13-3, and they won on Sunday today against Bryant 9-7. And Matt McCormick's still hitting home runs, hits another one over the weekend. So that's 3 in the last 7 games, I think. So he's doing good. They open up Friday at 3 p.m. in Morgantown for their first home game of the season. And boys, it's also televised. 3 p.m. on Friday. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. So put your nickels in the television so you can watch some baseball.
That'll be dessert time for Brent.
Dessert time for Brett.
Well, 3 p.m. It's 3 p.m. Oh, Yeah, you can get that one. before.
Appetizer.
That's appetizers. Those are appetizers.
Yeah, I'll get an appetizer for that one.
WVU women's continues to do well. They had a tough loss against Iowa State in Ames last week, 68-85, but they beat Kansas 72-68 this weekend in the Fog Allen. They're still 18-4, doing really well heading into playoff time. They play K-State on the 3rd, and they play Baylor on the 8th to wrap up their regular season. Those games are also televised on ESPN Plus. A lot of West Virginia stuff is on ESPN Plus. I'm just saying, you might as well pay the $5 and watch it this month.
If you have to.
If you have to. I mean, it's worth it.
If you read Twitter, you would think ESPN Plus costs like $5,000 a season.
Right.
And I'm one of those people that's constantly complaining. It is, if you step back, it is kind of comical because everyone's like, I don't want to pay this stuff, but it's like, come on, it's actually not bad.
I know, and as you complain about it, but I will say, like, if you are a West Virginia University sports fan and you like watching anything WVU, there's a ton of stuff on there to watch. I mean, there's wrestling. There's sports I know nothing about that are on there. I mean,
and Johnson, I know you're a big Skip Bayless fan, so you can get your Get Up.
Yes,
you can watch those from start to finish if you like.
Well, I mean, sold, right? I think it's just the fact that people hate kind of getting nickel. It feels more like you're getting nickeled and dimed. Like, I used to watch this stuff on ESPN now.
Yeah, but you never watch. I mean, but when come on. Like, did we ever watch WVU baseball games? There was no way to ever watch a WVU.
No, you're right. And for that stuff, I feel like it's totally worth it because now you're getting stuff you would have never watched.
Women's basketball was never televised. Maybe one game a season on regional. You know,
I would agree with that.
So yeah. I think it's great for those instances.
I agree.
In WVU football news, Drashawn Miller lands at Auburn, so we were all wrong about Georgia.
I totally expected him to follow Coach Adai, but you know what? Good for him. The reason I wanted to bring this up, Guido, is because it just pains me. He was one of those players you love to root for. He was such a strong force on the defense, so good for him. But we'll certainly miss him. I guess it's next man up for the defensive backs.
And Darius Stills, still draft stock is continuing to rise for him. He met with the 49ers, and he's still got the combine. He got his combine invite. So that's coming up here in April that's coming up here at the end of March, I think, is when they do the combine.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so you've got Darius going into the combine here for the NFL shortly. Brent, thanks so much for being on the show again this week, and we're excited that you're going to come back next week. We're going to preview the Big 12 tournament next week, and that'll be exciting. And then we'll talk NCAA tournament, and then we're going to talk first round and second round wins, and then we're going to talk, Elite 8, Sweet 16, and Elite 8 wins, and then you'll be
then you'll be on to talk to us about Final Four national championship. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
So weeks of dealing with us, Brent.
Yeah.
If you're a basketball fan, a basketball junkie, this is the best time to be a sports fan. March Madness is by far, over the Super Bowl, over anything else, at least for me, my favorite time of the sporting year. I'm happy to be a part of it with you guys.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw out a little tease. Brent may or may not, for our Twitch fans, may or may not have a home Nerf court where he can demonstrate some low post moves and some of the stuff that Derek Culver has been doing. So if you aren't watching Twitch, you need to start watching Twitch, because Brent from his home court will be demonstrating, almost like if you watch MLB TV and they show the guys how they go over turning a double play or something. They've got that ridiculous in studio court or field.
Yeah, right.
Brent has got an in studio basketball court at his house.
Yeah.
Nerf.
Yes, Nerf. And he will be demonstrating. He will use his son.
Post up against his son, right? Yeah.
His son will be a wayward Big 12 defender, and he will get posterized by Brent. So check it out in future weeks.
Yeah, as long as I'm the one on offense, because my son might get the ball and break an ankle of mine. So we could do that for sure.
All right, Brent. Well, thanks for being on. We'll see you next week, buddy. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with the #1 game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and
So we do segment dos here. Let me just fix this.
Scoot got a little bit of Tyler repping the TC.
Repping the TC.
You look like Sheriff Tyler Consolidated with that particular logo.
I was very pleased with my branding of Tyler Consolidated. I like to think that
I feel like you were in the
very
vanguard of getting it established.
as far as, yes,
All right,
like
here we go.
even for the other sports, I feel like because I took some care and interest in making it look kind of like a brand and look a little bit more like a professional or a college team. Prior to that, it was like willy-nilly, like the T's and the C's were all different. Every team had a different TC. It was like stupid looking.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On. Guido along with Scoot and Johnson. Don't forget, you can find us on social media. Look for us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On. Well, guys, it's time for the #1 game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. Last week, Johnson won to close the gap. Scoot still has the lead 4-3, but Johnson knows more about WVU baseball, or at least according to our metrics.
Clearly.
Clearly. So Scoot, he's catching up. Johnson could tie it this week.
Not likely to happen.
Not like that.
go.
Well, let's see, because this week I thought, I'm trying to keep it fresh. Went back to pop culture, but it's something that's kind of from our teenage years, guys, because we're in our 40s, and there was a very popular show that was on MTV when we were young and is now coming back in a movie form. It's a little show called Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead's coming back, so this week I'm giving you guys questions about the famous MTV show Beavis and Butthead.
I did waste a lot of time at the time watching Beavis and Butthead, Scoot, so you might be in trouble here.
I might be, because I don't.
Now, granted, I haven't thought about it since that time, but
I don't know that I spent more than 20 minutes of my life watching Beavis and Butthead. So
Oh, no.
it'll be interesting.
That's going to be rough for you, Scoot. Well, they've announced they're coming back with a new Beavis and Butthead this year, new cartoon Beavis and Butthead. So exciting news there. So we had, before we started, a complete and total random flip of the coin. And Johnson, you get to go first this week.
let's do it.
Congrats. All right, guys, remember, correct answer is worth 5 points, a steal is worth 10 points, and final bluff is worth 25 points. Here's the first question to you, Johnson. What was the name of the town that Beavis and Butthead lived in? Was it Flatsburgh, Highland, Arlen, or Rattleville?
Oh, this is a bit of a curveball, Guido. I'm going to go with Highland.
That's correct. Highland was the name of the fictional town in Texas, on the Texas-New Mexico border that Beavis and Butthead are from. So there you go, Johnson. Quick lead come out with 5 points. Scoot, next question is back to you. You better not be on your phone searching.
I'm not searching. No.
All right, here you go, Scoot. Next question is back to you. Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead, also wrote a 90s cult classic comedy movie. What was the name of that movie? Was it Dazed and Confused, Half Baked, Office Space, or Kingpin?
Well, based on my Beavis and Butthead knowledge, I'm going to go with Dazed and Confused.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Johnson for 10 points and the steal.
I think Mike Judge wrote Office Space.
That is correct. Office Space. Johnson used to live that movie every day, didn't you, Johnson?
That's right.
You forgot.
Be great to get those TPS reports.
Don't forget to put covers on your TPS reports, Johnson.
Hoarding staplers. I thought that's what you were going with. That he hoarded a stapler.
All right, Johnson has a huge lead right now, 15-0 over Scoot. And this next question, Johnson, is actually...
Look at that lead, Scoot.
It's back to you.
It's huge.
That's a huge lead. All right. Before getting picked up for a full series on MTV, Beavis and Butthead had a short called Frog Baseball. That was on what variety show on MTV? Was it The Tom Green Show, The Ben Stiller Show, Liquid Television, or Al TV with Weird Al Yankovic?
Oh my God.
Johnson, what do
The
you think?
confidence on your face says it all, Scoot. I feel
That's
like
that question's to you,
definitely
Johnson.
this.
That's your question, Johnson.
Oh, is it me? I thought it was with Scoot.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
Oh, well, I think this was a short on the Tom Green Show. Oh, man.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Scoot, back to you. Frog Baseball was a short on what MTV variety show? Was it the Ben Stiller Show, Liquid Television, or Al TV with Weird Al Yankovic?
Well, Tom Green came out after Beavis and Butthead, so I knew that one wasn't it. But I'm going to go Liquid Television.
That's correct for 10 points and the steal. It was on Liquid Television in 1991.
I thought Liquid Television was like Aeon Flux and all those type of shows.
It was-
Is that
it
still
was.
the same thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
same thing. It was like a bunch of cartoon shorts, I think, is what
Yeah,
it was.
I guess I was thinking they weren't in with that, but all right, that makes sense.
Does it make you feel old that everything we're talking
Yeah.
about is like 30 years old now?
No, it does. It's like what?
All right. So Scoot, that was the correct answer. 10 points and the steal right there. This next question is back to you. Before creating Beavis and Butthead for MTV, Mike Judge did what for a profession? He taught math, sold propane and propane accessories, played bass in a touring band, or wrote for The Tonight Show.
That is tough. I am going to say he wrote for The Tonight Show.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Johnson for 10 points in the steal. Did he teach math, sell propane stuff, or play bass in a touring band?
I'm going to say he was a math teacher.
That's also incorrect. He actually played bass in a touring blues band through the late 80s and early 90s before.
Was it called Fooch?
No, it was not called Fooch. Before he decided to go after a career as a cartoonist and writer. So
I thought he was the bassist in Fooch.
no, he was not. So anyways, guys, that nobody gets points there. And this next question is back to you, Johnson. Daria, which is also actually returning in 2021, was a spinoff of Beavis and Butthead. What was Daria's last name? Was it Smith, Morgendorfer, Hex, or Johnson?
I'm going to go, just because I like it so much at this moment, I'm going to go with Morgendorfer.
That's correct. It was Morgendorfer. Scooty, I feel like you were more of a Daria fan than you were Beavis and Butthead fan.
I don't want to come across as highbrow, but I was somewhat like anti-cartoon at this point in my life. So
really? Very high, very high.
I am a little
Anti-cartoon.
I'm swimming. I'm swimming right now and trying to guess these answers.
You are swimming, Scoot, and you're down 10 points, but this next question is back to you. Final question before Final Bluff. On the show, Butthead's dad was a roadie for what 80s hair band? Was it Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Dokken, or Skid Row?
Well, I'm going to say Motley Crue.
That's correct. For 5 points, Motley Crue was the right answer. Man, Scoot, you're holding for only having watched maybe 5 minutes of this show.
Yeah, those were effective minutes.
I am very observant of things. I may not be paying attention, but I think I catch some things
Okay.
from time to time.
You catch things time to time.
So
All right.
I can guess what I don't know.
So as we go into Final Bluff, Johnson, you only have a 5-point lead, 20-15. And remember, Final Bluff is worth 25 points. As always, guys, you have to buzz in for this question, and we ask you guys to come up with your own buzzers. Scooty, what's your buzzer this week? All right. And Johnson, what's your buzzer?
Cornholio.
All right. Very good. All right, here we go. Final bluff. What?
What are the Snickers?
I'm just laughing at my buzzer.
All right, final bluff. What was the name of the fast food restaurant that Beavis and Butthead worked at? Was it Double Meat Palace, Mo Burger, Burger World, or Smile Burger? All right, Scoot. What was it?
Burger World?
That's correct for 25 points and the win on Beavis and Butthead Trivia. Scoot, it was Burger World. That is awesome. Congrats.
They were like grill cooks or something.
Yeah, one was wasn't one was like a fry cook or something, right?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, so Scoot gaps the lead a little bit here and is now leading 5-3 over Johnson here in season 2 of Bluff the Fluffs. Johnson, I kind of think you should feel a little bit embarrassed by that loss.
No, that one got away from me. We kind of lost the handle on that. Bluff the Fluffs. When you get to final bluff, sometimes it's a heartbreak. That big point question. Sometimes it happens.
It is a heartbreak. It can be a heartbreaker. Congrats, Scoot. You feel good now? Spreading that lead a little better.
I think I like to be least anticipated instead of most wanted.
Yeah, I hear you. I can see that.
Think about that for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, I have no anticipation of how you will perform every week. So
that's right.
All right, guys. Well, listen.
People guessing.
Let's take a break real quick. We're going to come back with a segment where we let Scooty dive into the friolator that is the internet. It's a little segment we like to call "I Can't Believe My Ears." So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On. got to go back live on Twitch a certain way, or it plays music the whole time. Our first 8 minutes of the show were on Twitch didn't have audio because I hit a button. So I realized it halfway through, and I was like, "Oh, I'll fix that." All right, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On, Guido, along with Scoot and Johnson. And I didn't get a chance to say this at the top of the show, so I'll say it now. Thank you to everyone, all of our fans, everybody who listens, for ordering a Coach Huggins Pullover Guy shirt. We were so happy to be able to donate the day of the fish fry, a nice size donation of a few $100 to the Bob Huggins Fish Fry and the West Virginia University Foundation. And we're going to keep those shirts up on our site. We're going to just start collecting money for next year. So anytime we sell one of those shirts, we'll put some of that money on the side, and we'll make hopefully a bigger donation next year to the West Virginia University Foundation, the Bob Huggins Fish Fry. It was awesome. So don't forget, you can go online, go to GotYourEarsOn.com. You can find it right there to our merch section to get one of those Pullover Guy t-shirts. Thanks, everybody. Johnson, there's a ton of other stuff too on our website.
Yeah, that's right. So in addition to the Pullover Guy link, you can also listen to the latest show right there in the sidebar. If you want, the tune-in link is right there. You can also click on the blog post, and then we'll have all the rundown of everything we talked about on the show, this week's show, as well as most of the links that we put in there for you to check out too, if you want to look at it further. And then finally, any past shows, you can also check those out. So it's all right there on the website.
Yes, definitely. So check it out if you get a chance. GotYourEarsOn.com. Well, every week on the show, we ask Scooty, very reluctantly he accepts, to go out there, stare at his phone, look at the internet, and find something interesting to tell us about. That's a little segment we like to call I Can't Believe My Ears. Scooty, what do you got for us this week?
Well, this one's a little weird, fellas. This one is maybe about as weird as we've talked about.
And the other ones aren't weird? I was going to say,
Yeah,
this is weird.
Scoot.
This one's, and it's a little morbid.
Oh, geez.
I've got some,
Okay.
Death again.
Right.
There's more
Weird.
death. More death.
There is
and
some
weirdness.
death.
All right.
Maybe you heard the story here that recently a judge had ruled that a woman, Barbara Rogers, who's 46 years old, was to remain in prison for her sentence of 15 to 40 years for murder.
Okay.
She murdered her boyfriend.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
He probably deserved it.
Well, yes, you're probably right, because you know why she murdered him? Any guesses, boys?
Did he steal her wedding ring to give it to another woman, like you reported on last week?
No, good guess. Good guess.
No.
Close. You're close. How about you, Guido?
I'm gonna say plain out, he just cheated on her. He, was out with another girl and cheated on her.
Also close, but
Okay.
not.
No. Okay.
He, or I guess they, were members of a doomsday cult.
As you are.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And
As you
they
tend
were
to be.
convinced that an extraterrestrial race of devil-worshipping reptilians,
Oh,
shapeshifters,
hate those guys.
were looking to install the Antichrist himself as the supreme ruler of Earth.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
Right.
And I guess she felt he was looking a little too reptilious.
Oh, she
And
thought
killed him.
She thought
Like
he
he
was
had-
one of them.
Like he
Yes.
had fallen in with the enemy?
Yes. Like he had become a reptile, and she killed him.
So Guido, talking about Beavis and Butthead and things from
Right.
old TV shows and stuff, this immediately reminds me. Remember the show V,
Yes, I do remember.
where the
that movie.
people landed? They were aliens. They landed. They looked like normal people, but then people started to notice they had like a reptile
Right.
under, like
under their skin or whatever.
yeah,
right?
under their facade. They had like reptile.
Do you think that's maybe where this cult got that
Well,
idea?
that's immediately what it makes me think of. Yeah, so maybe they thought that was like a real potential outcome here.
I got a question for you, Scoot. What kind of belief system would a group of people have to have for you to become a cult member? Like, what would the belief system have to be for you to be like, hey, man, this might be a cult I want to be a part of?
I don't
feel
know.
like
but
it will involve Fiji water and cheese.
cheese for sure.
Cheese-
Cheese is on.
cheese
Cheese
is
has
on
got
it.
to be involved.
They're like,
cheese,
yeah, it's like
sometimes.
they worship cheese. Is that what it is? Some sort of cheese
Maybe.
worship?
Maybe bathe in cheese. Something with cheese has got to happen
Yeah.
for me.
I can see that.
But how would you be showing reptilian tendencies?
I don't know. Like, did he like try to catch a fly with his tongue? Like,
and is it and like was it becoming forked or something? Like
I
that?
guess now, I guess what from reading this article, this cult, the way they would try to prove that these reptilious aliens were taking over is they would look at before and after photos of celebrities before and after they had cosmetic surgery.
Okay.
And so they believe that, I guess, this was some of the reptilious tendencies or the reptiles taking shape. My question is,
They're like, hey man, Gwyneth Paltrow did not have scales before she went in there. Something's going on here.
here's my question. Aliens, talking about aliens is strange anyway.
Okay.
Do you believe it? Do you believe in aliens, Scooty? Like, do you believe?
I mean,
like,
I don't know. I've had this talk here recently with
Yes.
a friend of mine
Right.
who is very much so possibly a member of this cult. And I'm not sure really if I should out him, but I will. I think maybe there is something that is living. Do I think it's an alien? No, I think it's probably like an amoeba. I don't know that it's full-fledged like Marvin the Martian or the Great Gazoo. I don't think it's that.
The Great Gazoo.
I mean,
Marvin Martian was the guy that kind of had the upside down mop thing, like
it's like
cleaning brush
he
on his
was
helmet, right?
kind of like a Spartan gone bad.
Right.
yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Like, I don't know. I certainly, if there were, they're not thinking about reptiles.
Well, I mean, maybe reptiles are aliens, Scoot. That's what I think the fact of the matter is. I mean, you don't know where they come from. Maybe, there was somebody driving their spaceship by, threw a couple of alligators out the window, and here we are 600 million years later, right, Johnson?
I mean, you are wary of Gila monsters to begin with, horned frogs. We've talked about it on the show before. There's various reptile type things that you have a disdain
I mean,
for.
think about a horned frog real quick. I mean, they shoot blood out of their eye sockets.
Yeah, remember we had that discussion? I mean,
that's not from this planet.
And there's poison dart frogs.
Right?
Weirdo.
Those are
it's all weirdo.
I feel like Johnson, you're an alien believer. You believe there's aliens out there.
No, I'm not an alien believer. I don't think so. I have enough things to keep up with in my life right now. I don't have time for aliens. Okay. Let's just calm that down for a little bit. Just at least let me get through my master's degree, and then we'll talk aliens.
We'll talk aliens afterwards.
I feel at times when we're talking to our friend that I have to like full-fledged defend normalcy.
Well, in his defense, though, he's arguing math. And so odds, there's some odds, I think, that he's arguing that there's something out there. And that is probably hard to argue, Scoot. Now, are they lizards? I don't know. I don't know where the math falls on possible lizardness of these aliens.
Could living things be different than living things here? We are saying that living things out there are like living things here.
Right.
What if they showed up and they were big chicken nuggets?
Oh man,
you'd have a problem,
like
right?
Already deep fried chicken, like walking chicken nuggets with legs.
Right. Yeah, because Scoot would be like remember
look delicious.
Yeah, right. Remember the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? Like, the turkeys became self-aware and stuff like that, and they were just like walking drumsticks. I'm just thinking, like, if they showed up and they were big McNuggets, Scoot would be like, I'm having a real problem because I need to communicate with you, but I want to consume you at the same time.
I would just eat them. I wouldn't even try to communicate. I would just eat them. I think of Flight of the Navigator. Do you guys remember that movie?
All of a sudden, there's like a planetary war because Scooty ate some chicken nugget people.
Yes,
and
it all goes back. It all
goes bad.
Lunchtime of a certain date.
Do you remember Flight of the Navigator?
Yes.
Okay. That thing that looked like a mirror shaped what was that type of Nerf football? The one that wasn't just like the regular football. It was like the
Right.
swoopy looking one.
Like, yes.
I don't know what it was called. Turbo? A Nerf Turbo?
I think it was a
Turbo.
Nerf Turbo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
I think it was
Yeah.
a Nerf Turbo.
Yeah, that's what that Flight of the Navigator looked like, but it was like mirror. Could that be out there? Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm not going to doubt that.
I'm just
That
saying.
would be about as living a thing as I think we got. Though. I don't
I-
think we've got reptiles or chicken nuggets.
I think our friend who is using math is saying it's very small of us to think that, mathematically there's got to be something else living out in the universe, right, Scoot? There's got to be. Maybe it's not, horned frogs.
Well, here's the thing, Guido, that you have to know though about Scoot. Also wary of math.
it's
Like,
true.
not a fan
This
of
is
math.
true.
Can't trust it.
I mean, and
You
you're also talking about Scoot here, who I don't think Scoot believes that anybody else lives on this earth except for him anyway. So it's like,
Well,
it's like-
I think when you bring math into the equation, Scoot was already not a fan. Now you're
Like-
trying to bolster it with math.
Yeah.
He's like, talk to the hand.
Scoot's
like
like,
this.
I already know all the people. I already control all the people. There can't be any other people because I already control them all.
I don't like geometry. This sounds like there might be geometry involved, and I don't want to talk about it.
I don't think there'll be geometry involved.
Very suspect.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do your proofs, your true false proofs. I'm not going to do any of that.
Order of Pythagoras.
I'm not going to do your base
You know what's
times height times width. Not doing it.
Scooty would never be a good actuary. He just would not
Not doing your volume.
Nope.
Not
No.
doing your area.
Take your
Get out of here,
spreadsheets.
alien beings.
Take your
Listen, we're not
spreadsheets
going
and
to
get out
talk
of here.
about what kind of angle the shadow of my pine tree is going to cast at 3 in the afternoon based on its height. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, Scoot, I'm glad this kind of devolved into an alien
Or
discussion.
foil, first outer, inner, last. Not talking about that either.
All right. Well, listen, we should probably wrap up this week's show on our alien discussion. This week on the show, we talk aliens. Next week, who knows what we'll talk about? Hopefully basketball. So WVU has 3 games this week, guys. Tuesday at 5 p.m., the Blue Plate special game against Baylor on ESPN. Johnson, you'll be wide awake for that game. Coming hot out
I
of
will.
work. You just getting right off the work Zooms and right into the WVU.
Yeah, let's
games.
do it.
Yeah. Thursday, TCU in the Coliseum. That game's at 7 p.m. And Saturday against Oklahoma State as they travel the Coliseum. We wrap up the regular season. That game is at 2 p.m. on the ESPN networks. Thanks to Brent Solheim for joining us. He'll be back next week. Super excited to have him on for all of March Madness this year. And don't forget, you can find us on social media. Look for us on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at Got Your Ears On. Also, look for us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On and find our website, GotYourEarsOn.com. Guys, thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with another show. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.